Good morning, everyone. And it is morning. We'll open up with Lady. Let's open up with Lady. She's making noises. What are you making noises for, huh? You all right? Uh-oh. Here comes this problem. You all right, sweetie? Huh? Yeah. This is a good way to open up the show, isn't it? I think I'd rather be doing this. Taking care of the kitties. What good kitties you are. Most of the time. You alright? Yeah. So we're making coffee. I've got the Peruvian out. I'm very excited. It's good coffee. So she laid down. Yeah, isn't that funny? She's a funny little thing. We will do our... It just always seems, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, and I'll say something else again as well. It always seems like when I do the normal amount of coffee I need, it never fills this thing up properly. It never looks right. So, let's see here. Some of those look shiny, don't they? 21, 28. 28. 28. Nice. 28 grams of coffee, 400 grams or milliliters of water to start out our day. Last week I talked about a story involving GameWorks, and I thought about it, and I thought, well, maybe I can share another story. Not as dramatic. It was at the time kind of harrowing and weird. Also frustrating, but I could understand where it was coming from. That's a whole lot of words to describe something, but describe it does. So I told you about the morning show producer grabbing me by my collar in the Mr. Sunny uniform. That was the Sunny 95 years. So basically my radio career looked like this. From 98 to 99, I was an intern. Junior year and senior year, I was an intern at Sunny 95. Basically, I was filing paperwork for the salespeople, which got my foot in the door. And then I started doing stuff for the production manager, Dan Trapper Dan. One of my favorite people, still one of my favorite people, best smooth voice in Central Ohio, I think, personally. If you want a nice smooth voice, he's your man to read your commercials. I think the world of Dan Trapp. So working with him, I learned so much more when it came to radio and editing and producing, that kind of stuff. And then after those junior and senior years of being an intern, I was hired and became the producer for Delilah. And I've talked about her before. She's recently come back. She had a very traumatic experience in her life, and I think she stopped for a year, maybe 2 years, and came back, so good for her. So I produced her for like 2 years, and then I went to the Blitz, and I worked for the Blitz for 2 years. And then I was laid off at the Blitz and came back, and that's where the other story started from last week and rolling into the GameWorks story. So this story with GameWorks actually comes from the Blitz years. And I don't know if it was year 1 or year 2. It may have been year 1, deep into year 1. So we were at GameWorks, and GameWorks used to do bands. They didn't have a stage so much as they had an extra set of stairs that were angled in an interesting way where bands could set up. They could set up a drum kit, guitars and that kind of thing, and amps and whatnot, and then they could plug into the GameWorks sound system and play throughout GameWorks, which was really cool. The only problem with that was that the AMC Theater shared a wall with them, basically, and theaters 11 and 12 were a part of that wall. So if the music was incredibly loud, it would bleed through into the AMC theaters. So AMC theaters would come down and complain to GameWorks, and then GameWorks would turn down the music, sometimes without the knowledge of the band, which honestly, everybody's there drinking and playing video games. So that really shouldn't matter. They've got a paying gig. They're getting their name out there. They're doing their work. And to a lot of bands' credit, that is exactly what happened. That is exactly how they felt. That is exactly how they went through it. They were at a bar where many of the people were not paying as much attention to them as if they were at a real concert. And, you know, so they understood the gravity of their situation. This is the radio station giving them a chance to be out and about and getting paid for it. So that all out of the way. There was this band called Roundtree. Now, I don't like talking bad about people, and no one in that band is someone that I would really talk bad about. In fact, the drummer, very attractive, tall drink of water. Or at least he was back in 2001. I can't speak for today, but I can speak for 2001, and yes, a very handsome, tall drink of water. They were playing at GameWorks, and it had started out being a normal thing, you know, and I think AMC probably came down and complained that it was too loud. So they turned down the music just a little bit. The bar did. Now, I will say it was probably not in their best interest to have turned down the music without telling the band. The lead singer of Roundtree, whom I've seen since once working at Best Buy, I haven't even ground my beans yet. I'm 7 minutes in and you haven't even started making coffee. As a matter of fact, I have started making coffee. I put the kettle on. That is a step in the coffee making process. So anyway, saw him at a Best Buy. He was working there. He recognized me and I recognized him, which I thought was actually pretty cool. But at the time, the band itself was very Creed-like. And I am not a fan of Creed in the slightest. I'll sing their songs every once in a while, but it is not without the Scott Stapp exaggeration that I can't stand. The music is great. The licks and the drum beat and, you know, it's all great. It's just that those, I just can't, I don't know. He's just, I don't know. I don't like Scott Stapp. I think he's I don't know how he is today, but back in the time when he just came off as a little, I don't know. And this is from actually meeting him and trying to interview him at a band concert that we had. I think the Blitz had, was at like the Schottenstein Center or somewhere. Maybe it was even the Polaris Amphitheater at the time, and doing a rock show and trying to interview them, and it was a nightmare. Anyhow, I started my timer, but I didn't pour anything out. Like a fool. All right, do a little bit of a bloom. Let's bloom it up here for, we'll let it go for until 1. So anyhow, that's kind of the background. So they started lowering the audio, and they didn't tell the band. So there was a point in the set where the lead singer got out front of the band and was listening to the music, just started freaking out. And to the song that was playing, he sang "Fuck GameWorks" 3 times out into the microphone, screaming. And then he hung up the microphone, and then all of the bandmates looked at each other like, oh God, not again. Not like, oh no, what's happened? Oh no, how terrible. Oh no, he sees something bad. No, they looked at each other as if to say, oh God, not again. And proceeded to immediately come up to us and apologize before we even knew what the hell was going on. Because we were upstairs and they were downstairs on their step doing their music. And all we heard over the PA system was "fuck GameWorks" 3 times. And both of the promotions people are standing there, and we look at each other like, oh God, what has happened? So we sprinted downstairs as fast as we could. Those stairs were scary. So it was very brave of us to do that. Sprint down the stairs as the other band people were running up to us saying, we're so sorry, we didn't know he was going to do that, this is awful. And we're all like, what is happening? And then GameWorks informed us and the band at the same time that AMC was complaining and they had to turn down the music, which honestly didn't hurt anything because we could still hear the band loud and clear, probably even clearer because they weren't blaring the damn music. And this offended the lead singer because he went out and he heard that the music was a lot lower than he thinks it should be, and threw up his hands and said he was done. Apparently he was done with the gig, and they were done with the gig. And I don't know how much longer they lasted after that incident, to be honest with you. It was traumatic. It was crazy. It's something I'd never experienced before. I'd heard of, musicians and lead singers having tantrums, but those were like Aerosmith and Van Halen and Bon Jovi and, and all of those bands, not something as kind of not huge. I don't want to say small, not something as small as, that just seems rude. They're not small. They played great music. Their instruments sounded amazing. The lead singer could sing. It's just that the music that he sang was just, it just wasn't for me, but the lead singer could sing. He had a wonderful voice. So I don't know how much longer they were around after that, but and GameWorks hadn't explained it to us. We didn't know what was happening either. So when they explained it to us, of course, we all kind of grasped that concept that, hey, we're sharing a wall with the AMC. We need to not be so loud, I guess. It was a 2-story facility with no carpeting on the walls, so all of the sound bounced around well enough to where everybody could hear it. Plus, it was being pumped through the internal sound system, so they could hear it. It was wild. And I felt really bad for the band. And I did feel bad for the band as a whole, because it's like, if you're not going to tell them that you're doing that and then you do it, what would you instinctually think, For us, we're like, you needed to tell us that this was happening so that we could have told them and let them know that, things are going to have to be toned down just a little bit, because why would you spring that on any band? They started doing that at the Polaris Amphitheater, and it was one of the reasons why bands stopped coming to the Polaris Amphitheater, because houses started to be built close enough to that amphitheater, and it was all outdoors, that there were noise complaints constantly. Buy land next to a pig farm and then complain about the pig smell. I mean, that's just what you're doing. Anyhow, so GameWorks. That's my only 2 GameWorks stories, I think. Nothing really spectacular happened there otherwise. It was just basically Roundtree, the lead singer, throwing a fit and effectively getting banned from GameWorks. And I think effectively getting banned from the Blitz ever inviting them to another music thing, at least for a year or 2. Regardless of the situation, you don't yell that in the middle of the venue where your bread's being buttered, And especially since you could still hear them clear as day, plain as the nose on my face. It's just that they had to lower the audio because it was bleeding into the MC. But, and there again, if they would have told us that, we may have been able to convey that in a way where everybody would understand. And then we could have shown them, you're still loud and clear throughout GameWorks. And they were. But, so that's my other one. It's my other GameWorks story, and it's gone. And I don't know if Roundtree still exists or not. My buddy Fat Johnny, I think he told me once that he'd seen them on a gig list maybe 7 or 8 years ago. I don't know. It's been a long time. And like I said, the last time I saw the lead singer for Roundtree, he was working at Best Buy in the electrics department. So hopefully he's doing well. Maybe he found something else, and I don't know why he wouldn't go on one of those. Unless he's got this ego thing, which kind of, I think if you have the nerve to go out in the middle of the place that is paying you to be there, and to basically diss the radio station that has been promoting you for many different small concert venues throughout Central Ohio, you disrespect them by yelling that out in the middle of the store. I mean, there's ego there. But, he had a wonderful voice, and hopefully he found something worthwhile to use it with. Peruvian is wonderful. And it's the right temperature. And it's just so creamy. No harshness, barely any bitterness. Actually, kind of on the edge of being sweet. Oh, it's a great cup of coffee. The Island Roasters are so good at what they do. I wish I could have caught them making coffee. That would have been amazing. Anyway, I think, like I said, this is my last GameWorks story. It's not my last radio story. I have lots of those. Some good, some harrowing, some aggravating, some business related, some music related, some promotions related. But those are the only 2 GameWorks related ones. And they are gone now. And they're now a Lego land. Anywho, thank you so much for watching today. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed the story. It is true Scout's honor, Vulcan's honor, Talaxian honor, if there is such a thing. I hope you have a great day, and we'll come back tomorrow. Maybe I'll think of another radio story and we'll talk about it. Anyhow, until then, enjoy the cup of coffee and have a great day. Bye.